To me, it's impossible to go hungry, even if you don't have any cash. If we don't take care now, it's going to be a hell of a mess down the road.
Throughout history, it's normal for economies to rise and collapse, especially those using paper money, because paper is ultimately useless. The only thing that's worth anything during hard times is water, food, air, and the human spirit itself. But unfortunately, most people nowadays have no clue what real health is, or real food, because they've lost touch with nature. This video workshop is about a man who's going to show you how to survive on your own with no grocery stores, without having a job, healing all your health problems.
It's very good to stop diarrhea or upset stomach or problems with the intestinal tracts.
And make enough money to keep your house doing something that's only a few hours a week that's good for the environment.
I started, you know, after getting really sick 14 years ago, thinking totally different, that I had to have security in my food supply. And the more I learned how to make that food supply secure, the more I learned it was simpler and simpler all the time.
His name is Gary Thibault. He lives in a suburb of Toronto, Canada, where it snows every winter. He lives and eats off of what grows on his property and a place just like this.
I challenge anybody to try not to be able to do it.
This could be you. This information is so important. I made a 5-disc set. This is a 2-day workshop where Gary will show you personally how to live off of things growing right within a 1-mile radius of where you live, no matter where you are in the world.
It's just something simple that everybody can do.
Once you know how to do this, you will never again fear the economy.
I know I'm going to live. I'll be there to help the cleanup, but most people will starve to death standing on their lawns.
These 7 hours will change the way you look at things and could very well change your life.
Hello, my name is Gary Thibault. 14 years ago, I started feeling not very good. Started passing blood, and going to doctors and getting exams and tests. And I couldn't come up with any real logical answers. And from self-diagnosing and what they were telling me as well, it was either 3 choices. Crohn's, colitis, which are both incurable according to the medical communities, or bowel cancer, and the doctors wanted to cut me open and look inside for something to do, I gather, because they couldn't really tell me what was wrong with me from all the tests. So I started examining what I was eating and started realizing, just from my regular vegetable garden of tomatoes and cucumbers and lettuce and the things that we grew from childhood times, it wasn't supplementing my diet enough. And I started noticing that when I started picking the wild dandelions and the plantain and different thorns and thistles and supplementing my diet, my health started improving. And at one time I was down to just eating a few things because everything else I ate, I didn't feel really good. But I noticed that every time I ate something that was natural, and as natural as I could get it from the environment, it just started healing my body. I started feeling like I was coming back to life. And then after a few years of doing this and educating myself a lot and starting doing research on every bit of plant and whatever I could find, I started realizing that there was more to this than just met the eye. And through experience and time, I've learned to teach myself how this blade of grass, or those burdock flowers in the background, or the burdock plants, or all the other plants are necessary, or the grape leaves. You know, they're edible food that people take for granted, don't know nothing about, or don't take the time to really investigate passionately how this really heals your body and makes you a whole person, because it gives you what you need. These plants struggle in the earth to grow and pull up minerals and vitamins to give to you. But you don't take them and use them properly. You rely on the pharmaceuticals or a medical doctor to go to the store and take something that's been man-made. But this is natural, and this has far more potency than anything you could ever buy in a store. People all the time will come to me and they'll say, you know, well, this is poisonous or that's toxic, and they're always worried about what they can eat. And if you can zoom in, Marcus, and show this little bumblebee flying around in the flowers here, and there'll be another one come around. This bumblebee is not going to eat poison. It's going to go to all the plants and flowers naturally to create bee pollen and the honey it needs for its hive to make its health perfectly healthy. It's going to go to plants that it needs to actually create a product that you can use in the honey or the propolis or the beeswax or the bee pollen. And any flower that a bee goes to, you can eat. And I know that to be fact because it will never ever take and eat poison. It goes to medicinal plants that can be sometimes a little bit toxic, but they can't kill you. So that bee will go around and sit on those flowers and pick up every little bit of pollen that it needs. Burdock is one of the plants that's very good to cleanse your liver. Gives you all kinds of digestive enzymes for your pancreas. It's very good for your intestinal tract. It's a very fibrous plant. And look how this plant produces such an abundance of burrs and seeds to spread itself around. And one of the things I tell people too, the burdock root will leave these little burrs on here all winter long. So if you couldn't dig the root out of the ground and can't eat the leaves, you could take these little seed pods and grind them up in a mortar and pestle and add them to your food, and you'll be getting the nutrition, because every seed is the potential of a full living plant. So like that bee knows that it's going to pollinate that plant so that it's going to produce those seeds so it can reproduce the next year so it has it again. And so you are going to have these seeds for your food even in the wintertime. These type of plants will stay all year around high up above the snow line. So you don't really have to work hard to go and harvest these seeds, and you'll have a supplement of your diet or a full complement to your diet. Minerals, vitamins, whatever you need. And this is not the only plant that does that. Most plants that are necessary for our health will stay available for us all year around in different forms. I will supplement my diet in the wintertime with the herbal teas from all the green vegetation, the 7 green trees, and then I will dry stuff in season, slow dry it out of the sunlight in a shade on a window screen or a cookie sheet, and then I will finish dry it in a paper bag and I will put it away in my house, and then so I have whatever I need. I have so much abundance, and later on in this project here we'll show you at my house the abundance that I've saved over the years. I mean, we have enough food to feed an army. There's no lack. I do not eat out of season or out of context of my environment. Like, you won't see me eating oranges from Florida or tropical fruits because they don't grow here in Canada. So citrus fruits, for example, they tend to have an acid that they grow in an environment where it's hot. So they make you perspire. So if you're eating citrus products in the wintertime, what happens is you don't feel the sweat on your body, but your blood's forced to the surface. So I've done a lot of questionnaires with a lot of people, and I asked them, you had orange juice this morning, and they say, oh yeah. And I said, well, haven't you realized that that plant's making you cool your body because it grows in a hot climate? So you would see me eating, if I want vitamin C from citrus, I won't be doing that. I'll be going to white pine, red pine, jack pine, spruce trees, and I'll be making tea from cedar or combinations of that to get my vitamin C in full form. And all of the conifer trees have hundreds and hundreds of times more vitamin C than any orange will ever have, because that's just their nature. Vitamin C, the strongest form, is from white pine. Nothing can beat it.
So as far as the heating and cooling elements in plants, tell us more about that.
Well, when you eat stuff in your climate, in your zone, they grow there for a particular reason. They have a higher content of fat. Pine trees have pine cones. Pine cones have pine nuts. The pine nuts have essential oils, a lot of fat. So that fat is a warming type of fat. Your brain is made 92% fat. And you need fat for your skin, your eyes, every part of your body needs fat. Most people don't realize that we need to consume more fat. The more fat we consume from plant kingdom, what happens is our liver doesn't produce bad cholesterol because it has enough good cholesterol. It doesn't need to produce any bad to make good from it. So the more you eat, like seeds and nuts that grow in your environment, like pine cone nuts and seeds, you end up getting those fats. Even the maple tree keys, you'll see the squirrel in the springtime eating the flowers. I put them in my salad. Later on in the season, when it has the keys on, I break open the keys and I throw the keys in the salad. I cut the wings off, but the little nut inside, which is the seed, is high in fat.
That's why the squirrel's eating it. And something I've come to learn over time, every season produces foods for the next 3 months of life in advance. So what it does is you're eating now to prepare your body for the upcoming season. And that's the way nature intended your body to be consuming food. You're consuming it in advance of the upcoming weather. So you can look around, for example, Marcus, if you focused on the apple trees over here, and if we go stand by there, you'll see that the apple trees behind us are laden with apples this year. So I know that this fall there's going to be lots of apples to pick. But also there's going to be a colder winter this year, and there's going to be more snow. So, you know, just like a squirrel, I'm going to start harvesting apples and making applesauce or drying apple slices or putting apples away in cold storage so that in the wintertime I have food to eat.
Tell us about the story with your daughter and the oranges and the trouble that you figured out the hard way.
Well, my youngest daughter, when she was just about 2 years old, we woke up on Christmas morning. The power happened to be out in the house, you know, unfortunately in the dark, and she was having a seizure, which we didn't know at that time what it was. I couldn't pry her mouth open. I thought she was choking, and we went to Sick Children's Hospital, and they said it was a febrile seizure. She was overheating, and her skin felt hot like fire, but her body temperature, according to the doctors, was normal, and they kept saying her body temperature was normal all the time. So after a few hours, she basically recuperated. By lunchtime, everything was back to normal. They did a CAT scan on her because in my wife's background there was some epilepsy seizures, so they figured that had to be related to it. And they basically gave us a little bit of medicine, which we really didn't give her. And we went home kind of flustered because we didn't know what was wrong with our daughter. She was, by 7 o'clock at night, she was back to normal in the kitchen screaming that she wanted to eat. And a few days later she had another mild seizure, very mild compared to the first one. But we didn't realize till a year later, in October, when we started buying the little Tangerello oranges, the second year in a row, Christmas Day or the day after, she had a seizure. We went back to Sick Children's Hospital, and my wife and I were sitting in the waiting room, and we both looked at each other and instantly said it was the oranges, because we'd written down everything that she ate, because everything we ate, she ate. And we started realizing and investigating what they spray on the outside of oranges and fruit imported into the country is warfarin, Coumadin, or rat poison, heart medication that they give to people to thin their blood, which really doesn't thin your blood. It just makes your blood slipperier, so it slides. And the more we learned about it, we stopped having citrus fruit in our household. And my daughter is 12 years old now, and she's a spitting image of a model of health. She's only ate natural food and no citrus.
Now, we're not telling people to not eat citrus. You're up here in Canada, so your first thing is to not eat citrus because you're in Canada. But the other thing that you were saying was the body temperature.
Yeah, well, you see, when you're eating certain types of food that grow out of your environment, it changes your core body temperature, because foods that grow in hot climates tend to make your body sweat, perspire. You have to get rid of the water. That's their purpose. They heat up your body so you perspire. Otherwise, you wouldn't drink and you wouldn't get rid of the toxins. You know, in a hot climate, that's what happens. There's more viruses, more bacteria. For example, if you were living in Africa, there's 502 known parasites. In North America, there's 149, depending where you live. So, certain foods in a certain area raise your core temperature to make you perspire. So in a colder climate, you don't want that. You're losing body temperature. I mean, we have basically June, July, August as hot temperatures, reasonable in Canada. Now with global warming, it's getting a little warmer, but the rest of the year it's cooler. So you don't want to be eating out of your climatic zone. And the Creator, in my opinion, did not make us have to struggle for food. I tell people all the time, wherever you live, if you stick your finger in the center of your dining room or living room, a mile within your house, in a complete circle, everything you need to survive and live is already living right there. I don't care if it's downtown Toronto, I don't care if it's in the Arctic Circle, the Sahara Desert, wherever you're living, a mile radius gives you everything you need to eat. And you don't have to struggle. You don't really have to grow much of a garden, even though you'll see some evidence of me growing a pretty healthy garden. That's because on this farm here we want to do some commercialized products, but we want to do it in a way that it's completely organic and natural. I don't believe really in organics. I believe in just doing it the natural way. And people don't understand. This burdock here grows for a reason. It grows here. It doesn't grow somewhere else 50 miles away from you. It's growing here. And whatever plants you need around this property is growing right here. So I'm not going to walk 5 miles away to eat. I don't need to. It's right here. Your body adjusts to this climate, and the plants that grow here give you what you need to keep you at the right temperature for that climate zone. They keep you, you know, like it's a warm day today and I'm perspiring a little bit, but you don't see me dripping in sweat because I ate vegetable material from this area, from my house in Etobicoke and here. Today when we sit down and have a salad, it's going to come from this area. It's not coming from hundreds of miles away, shipped on a truck, sprayed with chemicals, or grown extra fast with chemical fertilizers, sprayed with tap water that has, you know, chlorine and fluoride in it and other chemicals, who knows what, pharmaceuticals.
It's really the core temperature that matters. It's not the outside temperature. Your body's reacting perfectly.
Yes,
you're doing what it's supposed to.
Your core temperature is the most important thing. You know, your core temperature has to be stable. It can't be in a way, in a position that you're going to be compromised. Because basically, you know, your heart and blood and everything else has to be at a certain temperature all the time, consistently. And when you disturb that, then your body starts to show detoxification, and one way is through perspiration. Excessive perspiration tells you that your body's trying to get rid of something.